Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. As Old Trafford performances go for Spurs, that wasn't too shabby. Yeah, it could have been better in some aspects, but it could have been a lot worse, and especially with the circumstances that went on this week. Yeah, do you know what? I think we'll take that. I know there's some people quite rightly should say, well, it should have been 3 points with some of the beautiful play that Spurs were coming out with. But then I guess it could have gone the other way with McTominay's late header that went over the bar. On the whole, just about fair, probably. I'd say maybe Spurs edged it for me in terms of being the team that I thought second half were going to go on and win it. But like I say, that late chance maybe tips it back to being a fair result. And let's be honest, Old Trafford is not a happy hunting ground for Spurs. I know there was the 6-1, which obviously was a terrific result, but kind of as I've got some stats to come, wins are hard to come by at Old Trafford, and even a point is hard to come by at times there as well. So, yeah, I mean, look, let's be honest. I'm just about to discuss exactly what happened in the week building up to that game, and on top of everything else going on at Tottenham Hotspur right now, I can understand why Postecoglou was pretty proud of the performance afterwards, because he would not have it any other way. He wouldn't have a bad word said about his Tottenham team yesterday. There was one radio interview he did where one of the radio interviewers came up to me as I was leaving. He said, "Oh, was he quite angry in the press conference?" I was like, "No, he was in pretty good form actually. He was really happy." And he said, "Oh, really kind of was quite annoyed with me." And it turns out that they'd asked a question, which is, an understandable question as well, of, do you think with the dominance that your team had, maybe you should have kind of tested Onana a bit more and added more goals to the scoreline, which I think is fair enough. But yeah, Ange did not like it, and really kind of obviously it's not snapped. He didn't kind of get really angry or anything, but I think he just wanted it made known how pleased and proud he was with his team and everything they did, because look, we know what's happened in the last 6 months or so. He's had every challenge thrown at him. If you don't want just to talk about the best player in your team being taken away the eve of the first match of the season, throw in their injuries galore, throw in their suspensions galore, throw in just loads of problems in terms of just loads of stuff. It just has not been a happy start to life in terms of, or an easy start to life. I think it has been a happy start to life, but I don't think it's been an easy start to life. Let's take the last week or so, for example. We've talked about the great stuff about having Radu Dragusin coming in and Timo Werner coming in, getting 2 early signings in a January window, which is just unheard of at Tottenham. But then even fate refuses to allow that to pass without a bit of balancing up. And so Ben Davies out with injury. Giovanni Lo Celso out with injury. Even young Dane Scarlett, chuck him in there as well. Even Ryan Sessegnon came back after 11 months and unfortunately just picked up a little bit, in the words of Postecoglou, because I asked him about him afterwards, a little niggle was the way he described the injury that he had. Said it was only a short-term thing. I think it was just purely that he missed this match, and that hopefully he's back for the City game. I'd imagine it's a byproduct of being out for 11 months and then playing in a match where Postecoglou admitted afterwards he wasn't actually going to use him in. He kind of ended up chucking him in there for the last 10 minutes just because of the way that the game had shaped up. And just, I guess, it's using, a body and competitive nature that hasn't been used for almost a year. So, yeah, it probably just some little issue. I've seen people going mad on social media about it. It's not that, he's had this awful setback and he's out or anything like that. It's just literally he's come back into football after all that time out. And yeah, his body's gone, oh my word, what have you done to us? So hopefully, yeah, Ryan Sessegnon back in. But again, another person there as well. So, Spurs went into this game. Actually, I'm going to save the number for a moment because it's still mind-boggling when I hear it. But with all of the people unavailable due to injury, due to obviously Son, Sarr and Basuma away at the Asian Cup and African Cup of Nations respectively, on top of all of that, fate thought, oh, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just chuck in a little sickness kind of bug into the... Just make, about 4 or 5 of those players pretty unwell this week. How's that suit you? Like that as well? You want to deal with that, Ange? It's just like, what? And so, yeah, in the days before, they had some real issues with illness, and poor old Dejan Kulusevski was, in Angie's words, copped the worst of it. He was really unwell, had a little kind of brief feeling of, oh, okay, I might be getting better on Saturday, and then he just so determined to play. He tried to actually train on Saturday, and I think he just about got through the session, but afterwards just quickly decelerated from that point on. It was just like, ugh. His body was clearly going, you swine, what have you done? Why have you put us through that? And yeah, so Dejan Kulusevski out on the, pretty much, well, as close as you want to get to the eve of the game, I guess. I'm trying to think when exactly he was ruled out, whether it was the night before or the morning, I can't remember. I was told, and it's completely gone out of my head. But yeah, that meant Spurs, Postecoglou had, oh my goodness. Actually, I haven't even told you the other players that were ill as well. Oliver Skipp, Destiny Udogie, both had been ill in the week. Both of them played almost a full match. I think Skippy got 84 minutes. Destiny Udogie played the whole game, which is remarkable when you look at their performances as well, and the running they did. So yeah, 4 or 5 players kind of ill. And it makes you think, honestly, took me back to Lasagna Gate, which was never even over a lasagna, but yeah, it has been termed that for the rest of its time. That fateful game against West Ham where there were very unfortunate things going on with people's at both ends of not of the pitch, of the people. Yeah, not great at all. And it just, had little flashbacks to that, but fair play. Because look, Postecoglou, I'm going to give you the number now because it's absurd. 11 first team players out. 11. You know, when I see these other clubs kind of complaining about their injuries and key players or whatever, I just think Postecoglou could just go, hello? Honestly, 11 players. And these are players like his captain, Sonny, unavailable. Obviously, that's a bit different. It's not an injury. But James Maddison, you know, key playmaker for the team, has been out injured since November. No creative attacking Kulusevski being out meant that he had no creative attacking midfielders to use in the game against United. It's just ridiculous. His bench was just unbelievable. He couldn't name even the full 9 players on the bench. He picked 8. 2 of those were goalkeepers, Fraser Forster and Brandon Austin. He had 3 academy kind of youngsters on there as well. And Alfie Dorrington played the full 90 plus minutes for the under-21s just less than 48 hours before their 3-2 win at Southampton. I mean, even look at his starting 11. He had a centre-back in Mickey van der Ven who hadn't played a competitive or any minutes of football since November the 6th, was it? I might have the date here somewhere. I think it was the 6th. He had Christian Romero coming back into the team, having had, I think, 2 training sessions and been out for about 3 weeks or so. Timo Werner had to play, had to make his debut purely because, of the lack of options, although we'll get to that a little bit later. And Timo Werner has not played a game of football since November the 4th because he had that adductor injury we spoke about in the last video, but also the winter break, the Bundesliga winter break. So it was just, it would have been completely understandable. I know it's called the Theatre of Dreams, but it would have been completely understandable if Spurs had gone to Old Trafford and it would become the Theatre of Nightmares, honestly. They would have probably been forgiven for everything that was going on in that squad, in that team, and the starting 11 he was able to put out there, which, like I say, some players coming straight back in, but also a very different look to it. We're going to talk about the midfield and how pedestrian on paper that looked, that midfield, and the lack of creativity. And they came away playing superbly for long periods. They really, really did. They were so good. And also, I mentioned about how difficult it's been for Spurs against Man United, regardless of how good Man United or people think they are in recent seasons. So a little bit of perspective. Spurs had only won 2 of their previous 11 matches. Technically, it's 12 now against Man United in the Premier League. Obviously, the one earlier in the season being one of them. When Rasmus Højlund puts that rocket of a shot past Vicario with was it 2 minutes and 32 seconds I've written down there. You're just probably expecting the worst, especially with such a patched up team. And again, going back to the stats, United have won every one of their previous 15 Premier League matches at Old Trafford when they've gone into the break ahead. And in fact, just to kind of double down on that, had a difficulty, Tottenham have gone 1-0 down in 25 of their 32 Premier League games at Old Trafford. And that's the most one side has conceded the first goal away to another in the league. Spurs like to create records, break their own special records, and that's another one of them. So it could have quite easily gone the other way, but Spurs were just not having any of it. And to be honest, this was the first time Tottenham had avoided defeat when training at half-time at Old Trafford in the Premier League since October 2005. Character, spirit, they just have it in abundance under Postecoglou. And they've also got this complete lack of fear because he just takes it away from them. And they've got a belief in his style of football. You can see it's there because they're going to places like Old Trafford. They're going to places like the Emirates. They're taking on teams like Liverpool and of course the Etihad. They went to Man City as well. And they know that if they play their brand of football, the Postecoglou brand of football, they've got a fighting chance because they're going to create, they're going to play some lovely football. But then again, it's also on them to have that spirit. That's a combination of spirit and character. They're kind of just bringing everything to the party right now as well. They made United look like the plucky visitors trying to get something out of the game. They really did. Spurs had 64% of the possession at Old Trafford, which is, that's rare. How many teams go to Old Trafford and dominate like that? Spurs made 497 passes, which was more than double the 237 Erik ten Hag's side made. Spurs had 16 shots at goal, 6 on target, forcing Andre Onana into 3 saves. Onana, of course, had stayed behind rather than going to Africa Cup of Nations, kind of when he was meant to, in order to play in this game. I think he was going straight out there to play 2 games in about 24 hours or something. Vicario didn't have a single save to make other than, obviously picking out their 2 goals from the net. United made 27 clearances to Tottenham's 14, and Spurs had 13 corners to United's 8. So when I saw Højlund, one of the players, United players, saying that they deserved to win, they were the better side. What? Honestly, they were not. They really were not at all. And I've always felt this about Old Trafford. It's a terrific, it's a terrific, what's the best way to put it? Traditional old stadium. It's got that history about it. Of course it has. It's obviously a stadium that's in big need of a kind of a refurb and redevelopment. Speaking to any Man United fans, they'll tell you that as well. But I do feel like going into that stadium, when they're not being entertained, it is quiet. It is very, honestly, all I could hear were the Spurs fans. They were brilliant, the Spurs fans. They were so good on the night. They always are, the travelling fans especially. I always big them up because they are magnificent. But for so much of the game, you could just hear the Spurs fans. Even when they were 1-0 up and 2-1 up, the buzz from them scoring United just kind of faded away because the United fans could just see Spurs were dominating the ball. They had it. They were using it so well. These beautiful little patterns of play, triangles, movement. It was just lovely. And this was with, as I say, players. You had one player making his debut, didn't even know the system, and you had other players that didn't really have the fitness. So many players that haven't started that many games in recent months trying to make it all work. And I felt Spurs were unlucky to come away with just a point. All of their football had the Postecoglou kind of fingerprints all over it. It was that kind of quick moves from back to front. United kept 3 or 4 players high up the pitch trying to press. Spurs just played around them so many times. Yeah, there's going to be the odd mistake. Of course, there's the odd loose pass. But Spurs just had that ability. I've spoken about it so many times. The midfielder dropping deep, taking the ball from the defence, spinning, hitting it first time out to the flanks. It is so effective. And the trouble is, if you try to counter that, then you'll see that the midfielder has that space to turn spin and go up the pitch. And every one of them pretty much can remember Bentancur, Højbjerg and Skip all at separate points being able to turn their man and suddenly have acres of space behind them. Yeah, it was a good performance. It wasn't the whole. Yeah, they've conceded a couple of goals and they'll be annoyed about that and the way they came about. But both sides hit the woodwork, of course, as well. Although the United one, technically, that was Destiny Udogie just making a bit of a mess of a clearance and heading it against his own, was it the right-hand post? At the other end, though, Romero was like an inch away from planting a header in off the underside of the crossbar. But as it was, he just caught it flush on the bar and it bounced back. Spurs kept pegging them back. Every time they just thought they were getting ahead, United, Spurs would peg them back. Obviously, first with Richarlison's leaping like a salmon header to send it into the far corner. And then Bentancur's lovely goal. Really, really nice goal. Coming straight kind of as the second half kicked off. It was kind of a real kind of gut punch you could see to United. They didn't really kind of recover from that for much of the second half. And like I say, Vicario just not a save to make in the second half at all. Or around the 2 goals in the first half. But I guess, like I say, I think that late McTominay header kind of makes you think, okay, a point is fine. We'll take a point because it could have been nothing at the end there. And Postecoglou, like I said after the game, was just absolutely just so proud. I think pride is the only word you can use. He said, I thought it was an outstanding performance considering the challenges we had in putting a team out there today. It's a difficult place to come and play. Obviously a big game for United as well. A win today would have given them some momentum. We went a goal down pretty early, and this group of players, just every time we've had to deal with adversity, have just done it in an outstanding manner. I couldn't be prouder of them. It was an outstanding effort, and I thought some of our football was fantastic. I thought we were unlucky not to win the game. Irrespective of that, the performance and the effort the boys put in was first rate. So I asked him about the illness that had been going through the camp in the week, and obviously who did it affect within, and who was out there playing that it affected as well. And he said, obviously Kulusevski, he struggled all week with it. Again, Decky was so desperate to play. He trained yesterday, but he just went downhill after that. Skippy, Destiny, 2 or 3 others have all struggled with it this week, but it doesn't really matter because these guys are not going to make excuses. If we didn't play well today or not got a result today, they wouldn't want me to come out here and make excuses. But the reality of it is when you consider guys who haven't played for quite a while and guys still with what they had to deal with. I mean, Timo has had just 2 training sessions with us, hasn't played a game in ages. And I just thought Pierre coming in, Rodrigo and even Skippy, who haven't started games in quite a while, it took an enormous effort from the lads and credit to them. This just feels like the new Spurs right now. It really does. It feels like whatever you can throw at them, they're just going to keep marching through it. And that is a great trait to have for a team that has aspirations. I mean, Postecoglou, in the days before the game on Friday, he was asked, are they in the title race? And he said, yes. You look at the table, if you're 1 point behind, at that point, 1 point behind Arsenal and Man City, and 6 points off the top of the table, and you're only in January, you're in the title race until you are no longer in it. And I did wonder whether, going to Old Trafford, is that a kind of a big label or tag to chuck on Spurs as they went there? It wasn't. He just knew that they had absolutely no issues with the burden of having that on there, and it just didn't prove to be a burden. It was. I thought they played so well. The fans loved it. Those travelling fans. The connection is so good. The fans recognise that Postecoglou has just extracted that fear from Spurs. They just go to places and they just don't care about what the opposition is going to do. They're going to try to play lovely football and get the ball around them. And it just won so much patience, I guess, from the fans. As patient as we all as fans can be. But certainly the connection is there. I mean, even just before the game when they were looking at inspecting the pitch, I was out there. It was cold in Manchester. I always find that, honestly. It's always a couple of degrees colder, and it rains when I go off the train. The two things that always happen to me in Manchester. Although it didn't rain, I don't think, for the match that I can remember. But yeah, when they were inspecting the pitch before the game, Postecoglou came out with a couple of players, and he just walked straight across the pitch down the touchline over and applauded the fans. who obviously responded in kind. And then after the game, again, going over there. And he was doing proper fist bumps as well. Not fist bumps, that would be weird. Every single fan getting a fist bump. Pumping his fist towards them. He was happy with that point. That for him was almost like a bit of a moral victory because of everything that had happened in the week. It was a nice little kind of connection with them as well. It is. It just goes to prove that whatever is different about the lineup, they're buying into the philosophy. So whoever is going onto that pitch is going to play in a certain way, regardless of the names on the back of the shirts. And that's massive for Spurs. There's been so many times in the past where we've been like, oh, if you're going to change that many players, it's just going to be this awful kind of disjointed shadow team. It's not going to work. The amount of times we've spoken about it, even in the Cup. I mean, we saw it early in the season at Fulham. But it feels now we're at this point, a few months on, that whatever side he's got to be put out, got to put out there, it's going to play in a certain way. And in his own words, I think he said before, they might not get everything right, and it might not look particularly smooth, but they're going to play in a certain way that's going to give them a chance to come away with something from the match. And it's great. It's great fun to report on. I can imagine it's great fun to watch as well, although, they do give you some scary moments around their own box. But, it was terrific. It was terrific. It's a good point. I do think it's a good point. Because, that midfield. Look at that midfield. That was a midfield on paper that probably no one would have wanted to pick. And that's no disrespect for players, but it's the combination of the players. You don't have Kulusevski, you don't have Lo Celso. And I told you, you're going to have to play Oliver Skipp and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in there with Rodrigo Bentancur. You might have thought, okay, I guess you play Skipp and Højbjerg as a 2 and play Bentancur in front of them as a number 10. No. Postecoglou went, no, that's not what we're going to go for here. I want Bentancur to be that man at in the kind of base anchor role. And the reason behind that is how crucial it is, as I said earlier, for that deeper lying midfielder to get that ball and instantly, bravely, with the technique needed, spin that ball out first time to the flanks. You'll see him do it so many times. There's a few real constants in his team. One is the low crosses into the box, and the other is at the other end with the midfielder coming deep, hitting it and spinning. And Bentancur is the best out of those three to do that. He just has that ability to take the ball instantly and fire it out to either Porro or Udogie, whoever it is. Or sometimes one of the other centre-backs will have moved slightly, or maybe the other midfielder will have come a little bit deeper, or sometimes it's even one of the wingers drops that a little bit deeper into his own half. And Bentancur is the best out of that three at doing it. Although, to be fair to Højbjerg, he was doing it. I think I've criticised him in the last couple of games, maybe not showing enough for those sort of passes. But he did come back. Yeah, he made some mistakes with his passing, but actually he did make quite a few of those passes. It just links up the play. Because instantly in that moment, you've got the attacking players of the other team who'd been pressing like, oh no, oh rubbish, we're stuck up the pitch now. And there's all this room. Suddenly, you've got the majority almost of your team against lesser numbers of the opposition, and you can sweep up the pitch. It'd be interesting to see when Basuma comes back, whether Basuma goes back to number 6 role and Bentancur in the 8. My feeling is that's what will happen. You might remember kind of he admitted, he kind of let slip in a way, half jokingly, but I think we all knew it was serious, that Bentancur's ankle injury had essentially robbed him of his, in his words, plans of, I don't know why I keep doing quote marks, it's just the worst thing. I don't know why I do that, I hate doing it. It's very, it's just rubbish. He had his plans of playing both of the two players together, Basuma and Bentancur. I guess this is the beauty of the competition that will be there in that midfield when they all come back, because Basuma, will have a competitor for his role in Bentancur. Bentancur will then create problems if he's a number 8 for, let's say, Sarr playing there, who's obviously been playing very well this season. So, competition. It's a great thing. It really is. Skippy's role. Skippy's role was fascinating because instantly, within a couple of minutes of the game starting, I was like, why is Skippy on the edge of their area? Why is he right up there, like throwing himself at everyone, almost like the furthest forward? And what it was, I kind of just, you realise very quickly that despite being a very much a natural number 6, Postecoglou had just gone to him, lad, be the chief disruptor. Go out there, give them hell, just make it so difficult for them. And that was what he did. He just pressed like mad in those offensive areas. Just a complete nuisance, like an annoying fly buzzing around them. And bearing in mind, this is a guy that had, been ill during the week. It's testament to his fitness. And like I said, it was 84 minutes he played, and he carried out the job really well. People have been a little bit down on Oliver Skipp in recent weeks because, as I said a billion times, he's been playing out of position. He's trying to do a job of a number 8 when his talents and abilities lay more as being a number 6. It's not rocket science. He's been asked to do things that a more creative attacking player would do. Although I do get the feeling that Postecoglou believes that his technique is there and his first time vision for a pass is there to do it. And actually, it was last night. God, I've lost track of time. Yeah, it was last night. Some little moments showed that, okay, he's got it there. I mean, we've seen, even in pre-season against Barcelona, when he scored those 2 goals, that he's got that ability also to run into the box, but doesn't use it enough. But yesterday, the ball he played out to Timo Werner. If you haven't seen it already, he just cuts across this ball on the volley and just slices it beautifully into the path of Werner, who ran through and actually made a mess of it. He could have done much better with that. It would have been a glorious assist. Also played the ball through to Werner down the left-hand side in the build-up to the goal, and then raced into the box himself with a bit of a dummy run, which then left a little bit of space for a lovely ball from Werner into the path of Bentancur to take a couple of touches and bang, straight in the goal. In all, Skippy played 3 key passes in his performance, which is more than anyone on the pitch apart from Pedro Porro, just to be noted. And he also made 1 tackle, 1 interception, and despite the fact he was playing a lot more kind of attacking passes than you would normally kind of expect him to do, because he normally comes a little bit deeper, he had a 92.9% pass success rate, which is the highest of any player beyond the centre-backs and the goalkeeper. I think he did really well. Like I say, there's a few players that I think fans will kind of pick out as a bit of a scapegoat. And weirdly, at the moment, they feel like they're the younger British ones. I feel like it's Skipp and Johnson at the moment. One's 23, one's 22. As I say, we're all very much lose our patience at times. But I kind of feel like right now, the younger players, or some of the younger players, maybe it is because there's other younger players that are doing so well, like Udogie, like Sarr, like Van der Ven, and it's like, you should all be like that. But just people develop at different times, people need work in different areas, people pick up things quicker. It doesn't really work like that. And like I say, with Skippy playing in a role that is not his role, I thought that was one of his best performances of the season yesterday. I thought he was really good. But yeah, it's one of those. I know, we all know how it works. You're not going to probably get the credit when you play well. And then the next time you have a tough game, you don't play well, everyone just remembers the last rubbish performance rather than the last good performance. It was asked, I think it was Charlie Eccleshare asked him about Skippy coming in and, just coming in and doing what exactly is needed for the team. And he said, what did he say? I've got it here somewhere. He said, it's why we are where we are. We're not here because everything is running our way. I think anyone doing any kind of objective commentary on our season will not say that we've had an easy year. The only reason we're in the position we are is because we've had players like that who are prepared to put aside whatever adversity we're going through and give everything they have. These guys are giving me everything. Whoever is out there, whether it's guys playing out of position, guys who haven't played in a while, guys coming back from injury, they just give everything. It's not always smooth, but there's no manager on this planet who wouldn't feel like they're in the right place when they see the kind of effort these guys are putting in every week. like I say, Højbjerg, I thought he worked really hard. I've seen differing opinions on his performance. I thought he did okay. I don't think it was awful. I thought he did give the ball away a couple of times, but I didn't think he was awful. I thought he, bear in mind, this is a guy who we don't know whether his future even lies at Tottenham. Whether he will be leaving the club at the end of the window or not. But I just think he does give everything for Spurs. And at times, because he's got a more natural inclination to come back, whereas, with Skip, he was told stay up the pitch, and he does it. Whereas with Højbjerg, even as a number 8 role, he likes to kind of drift at times into that number 5 role. And at times it looked like he was the anchor man rather than Bentancur, but it wasn't. It certainly didn't seem to be that way from the start of the game. No, he did okay. He did okay, Højbjerg. He worked, like I say, worked hard, played some of those balls that were required when he did come back. Although, who scored, to be fair, who scored database rankings had him as, I think he was the lowest outfield player. I think Vicaro was the lowest. I think Højbjerg was the lowest in terms of his data. But yeah, I thought kind of with the eyes rather than the data. I thought he worked hard. I thought he played his part in the game. I think he had 2, if I remember correctly, I think he had 2 tackles and 1 interception, I think, as well. So, which was the same as Bentancur's defensive stats. But look, Bentancur was the main man in the midfield. His goal reminded me of the kind of match-turning goals he was scoring before that rubbish cruciate ligament injury back in February at the King Power Stadium. When we had those games where it was like, oh no, who's going to save us? Kane's not doing the business for us, just for a change. Bentancur would step up and come up with these big goals during that little period, and this felt like another one of those kind of ones. It was a lovely goal. That was Postecoglou football. It was beautiful. Like I say, skippy ball out to left. Werner just waited for the... You can actually see Bentancur was pointing and saying, now, now, now. And he just played it perfectly into his path. Took a touch to get it into his stride. Another touch to set himself. And just cracked it past Onana. It's one of those where when you watch it at kind of normal speed, you're like... Or even slow down, you're kind of like, how in the world did Onana let that get by in his near post? But when you watch it at proper speed, it's like... It's a rocket. It absolutely flies. I think almost kind of just above his head. It almost could have taken his head off. He played really, really well. Bentancur made a really crucial interception. Mickey van der Ven lost the ball on the edge of his own box. I think it was Rashford played it to Bruno Fernandes. And just the last second, Bentancur just got a foot in and stopped the move. And it was just perfectly timed. Early in the game, he'd had a header from a corner, which I couldn't tell from my angle whether it was going wide or not, but certainly Diogo Dalot had to clear it away from the goal area. And the fact he got 95 minutes under his belt is superb. And this is kind of what excites me most about Bentancur right now, is that he's nowhere near full fitness. He's nowhere near the sharpness that he's going to require to really excel in a Postecoglou team. And actually, Postecoglou after the game said that he kind of admitted that Bentancur had come to him a couple of weeks ago and just pretty much requested to play. And I've got it here somewhere because he was asked the question. I think it was from Simon Stone from the BBC. He asked, what does it kind of mean? Just his mentality to kind of be back after not being knocked by the fact that he had after being out for 9 months with a cruciate ligament, he comes back on his first start. He gets an ankle injury that kind of wipes him out again. Obviously not for the same amount of time, but I'm saying obviously. And I've noticed that last one after someone made a comment, and it's all I can think about now. So I've got to remove that from my vocabulary. Postecoglou was asked essentially the mentality that was required to be that kind of player. And he said, he was outstanding. It does say a lot about him. He's another one who, with the initial diagnosis, he should still be out from what we looked at as a recovery time. But he came to me a couple of weeks ago and said, look, I want to help. I need to play. I need to help these guys. He could see we were going through a rough time, and it is a testament to his character. He's an outstanding person. Part of the reason I made him skipper in the last game was just to reward him for the person he is. And again, he was outstanding today, I thought. When we needed to get on the ball and show some composure, he was outstanding. And again, he's nowhere near the fitness levels or the levels he wants to be, but he will get there. And when he does, he'll be a fantastic asset for us to have in the team. He was so good, Bentancur. Like I say, when he is flying and fully fit, these 2 weeks are going to be really good for him, I think, just to kind of regather himself, work on that fitness, like a mini pre-season of sorts. It's going to be huge for him. Get a bit of rest as well, having kind of come back and played these games in quick succession, started after being out. He's been out for much of 2023, he was, let's be honest. It is remarkable what he's done. And that midfield, I think Postecoglou will be so excited about the fact that he's lost most of his midfield for differing reasons in the last couple of months, and they've kind of got through this tough period. Hopefully, fingers crossed that there's not more to come. But we're getting to the stage now where people are coming back, and I mean, think about it. All the excitement about James Maddison and his playmaking ability feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? All of that, like, Spurs have made the bargain signing of the summer. Again, Postecoglou would argue bargain can't mean £40 million, but he was one of the signings of the summer, if not the signing of the summer. He just started the Premier League on fire with assists, with goals, his leadership as a vice captain. Spurs haven't had him now for 3 months we're at now? More than 3 months, because it was November. Wait a minute, no. November to December. It's only 2 months, I can't count. 2.5 months or so. And it feels like an age ago. And you can see how they've kind of got around it, whether it be through Kulusevski or Lo Celso, just also using the width a lot more than stuff through the middle of the pitch. And look, he's on his way back now, Maddison. The hope is, Postecoglou said it on Friday, that they hope to have it back now sometime between now and the Man City game. And like he said, there's 3 games. There's a cluster of games that I think it's City, Brentford and Everton, all in quite quick succession in that week. And the hope is that he will be able to play a part in some, if not all of them. Obviously, surely he's not going to be able to come back and just get a little bit of training and then start all 3. That would be mad. But who knows with the way this Spurs team goes and the players that just want to play. But it is, when you think about it, the team he left was just starting to learn the Postecoglou way. The team he will return to has it absolutely just embedded in them now. There's more to learn, don't get me wrong, but there are so much more kind of just in that way, in that groove of what he wants them to do. And there are things that are becoming instinct rather than instruction, like I said at the start of the season. And then you're dropping Maddison back into that gifted playmaker who could just create magic out of nothing. And obviously set pieces as well. Porro's taken fantastic set pieces. You've now got Maddison and Porro who will be vying to take free kicks and corners and the like. And also Maddison's dribbling ability that, surprised me at how good that is, as well as the passing side of his game. So you should hopefully have him back. Mana Solomon as well, another option from the bench to come on. Obviously Basuma and Sarr, and I'm talking about Son, but obviously we're talking about midfield now, but Basuma and Sarr will be back for the Africa Cup of Nations as well. Suddenly, again, it's a big ask to kind of, say no more injuries, please, when the treatment room has pretty much been standing room only. But if they can steer clear and keep away from these, we've said it in previous ones, the hamstring injuries and the other injuries are a bit of a byproduct of the Postecoglou way to begin with. It's happened at pretty much every club he's been at, and I said in a previous video at Celtic, he admitted it's something that players and the sports science staff just adapt to within the first 6, 9, maybe months, maybe a year, and their bodies grow accustomed to this kind of relentless nature of the training and the games, and they just learn what they can do and what they can't. And Postecoglou himself says he's always learning, and And he will tweak things as he sees maybe they're not quite working. He will always keep his core beliefs, but there's certain things he'll tweak. And he's definitely not going to tweak the training sessions. He pretty much made that clear on Friday. But what he might do is give players, I guess, a little bit more recovery time. Because the pace of the Premier League is different to it's another step on to anything he's experienced before. So maybe he will give little bits extra recovery time. We'll talk about that in a bit as well with what they're going to do this week. Also, a lot of it is to do with rotation. This was the key for him as well at Celtic, was to build a strong squad that he could change players in game. Get at least, now you can get 5 of them out there, out of the team at certain points, but also to have the quality to be able to rotate 4 different games. So like this game of this week of 3 games in a row, like I say, Maddison shouldn't have to start all of them, and the players in the midfield shouldn't have to start all of them. He should be able to bring in a different face, and they should be able to play in the Postecoglou way. Different attributes, but in the same kind of manner that he wants them to play, in the same manner Solomon. Manner Solomon hopefully will come into it, but that wasn't the different manner or the same manner I was talking about. Absolutely killed that, didn't I? Would have been a little quip, but it ended up just being an over-explained piece of rubbish. And that's the luxury he hasn't had, is that rotation. And that, again, I'm going to use the word exciting so much because it is. Because to have achieved what he's achieved thus far without the ability to really rotate his side, the quality that's coming back in, I can only go back to other teams moaning about their injuries, but you just look at the players through the spine of their team that Spurs have not been able to call upon. And if he can even get to a point where there's 2 or 3 people out injured or unavailable, he's going to have a hell of a squad. It suddenly becomes a really strong squad when you got Werner and Dragusin in there as well. So yeah, looking forward to it. In terms of Werner, all eyes were on him. It's fair to say. I was sat where I was in the press box with a lot of people that cover Man United, and I think almost like the knives were out a little bit for him. They just remembered him, as many will, as the player that wasn't the biggest success in the world at Chelsea, and they were just kind of waiting to see that unfold once again, despite the fact that, as I said before, a goal involvement in almost every other game for Chelsea, and pretty key in them winning the Champions League, which is no mean feat. But yeah, it was... Personally, I felt it was quite difficult to judge him on this first game. Bear in mind, like I said, he hasn't played a minute of football since November the 4th, 2 training sessions. It was so new to the team that even at the start of the game, when they do this, the huddle in front of the away fans, they do it every away game. They do it at home games as well, but in the away games, they deliberately go over to the travelling support and do the huddle in front of them. And he was off. He was on his own, like on the left, like, where's everyone gone? And I had to call him over and say, no, this is what we do here. It was quite a funny little moment right at the start of the game. And look, he did look rusty in moments. There was a wild shot over the bar in the first half. And then that one where I said Skippy put him through with that lovely ball, hit that wide. Yeah, the United covering journalists around me were a bit like it's a bit like Nelson from The Simpsons. It was like, that's what you bought. You've got him again. Back in the Premier League. And yeah, I did feel for him because he was being judged very much as a rusty player with very low fitness levels, you would have thought after that amount of time. Although I think it did last about 70 minutes or so. I should have the number here somewhere. I'll find it in a minute. But I felt that, yes, he had those little moments. Of course, you look at his career, he is a finisher. You look at his goal record in the last 7 years or so, and he scored so many goals. So he is a finisher. And I thought the most positive thing I took away from the game was the fact that I just felt he fitted the system. I think you could see how he's going to flourish in the system once he gets sharper and fitter. They used him quite a lot down the left. They trusted him with the ball already. He still is learning where he's meant to be. You could see that there were a few times that he wasn't available for a pass or wasn't quite in the right position where Son would be. Obviously, Son's a world-class player, but he knows exactly now where in a Postecoglou system he's meant to be at any time. Also, defensively, because of his lack of fitness, he wasn't able to help out Destiny Udogie much. Destiny Udogie had to do a lot of defending. And like I say, he'd been ill in the week, so it wasn't the easiest for him. 79 minutes he lasted, I've just found in my notes, which isn't bad at all. But I think the more he gets used to the Spurs game, which is such swift passing and movement, it is the word relentless. I'm going to keep using it as Postecoglou's buzzword. He's going to get a lot of opportunities in front of goal, and he's going to get a lot of opportunities to set up goals. I thought it was important that he got that assist, just to have something tangible, not to have been Werner's back and he's missing chances. To have come back in his first game in the Premier League, really nice assist. I thought that was really important for him. And like I say, a bit like Bentancur, now he gets this little period of 12 days between games where he can really work on Postecoglou fitness, which is that little bit more required than for many teams. His interview was quite nice after the game. He seems quite a funny character. Got a kind of bit of a dry sense of humour. And he said after the game, this was his club interview, "I'm very happy to make my debut for Spurs. It was a special game, my first game, and also at Old Trafford. I'm looking forward to many, many more games." And about the game, he said, "In our best phases of the match, they scored their goals, but that's football. That's how United are playing, and they have the ground behind them here in Manchester. But still, I think we played a very good game. And in the end, a draw was more than fair, but we could have also won it. The point is good for us. Not every team can come and draw at Old Trafford, but at the end, when you've had chances, trying every minute and having more possession, you're a bit sad that you didn't win this game. I think how we grow as a team, it was only my first game, but I saw a lot of games Spurs have played and how the team develops. And a lot of players they're still missing. So there is a lot of quality coming in over the next few weeks. I think we can be very proud and looking forward to what comes after today." And I kind of get the sense with Werner when he talks, he's not talking about, he doesn't speak in a way that suggests he sees himself as a lone player. He speaks in a way that suggests he thinks he's going to succeed and Spurs are going to take that option to buy him, which is great. That's the way to think. Because he said about fitting into the system. He said, "I enjoyed it a lot. The offensive style, how we play, I think was incredible today. It fits also very good to my style of football as well, to be high, to wait for the ball, to go to attack the deep spaces. And I'm really looking forward to many, many more games." That's twice he said that in the interview. Many, many more games. I think he does. He wants to stick around. And it's early days. Obviously, we'll see whether it is a success for him or not. But I do have positive feelings, I think, about the way Werner's going to fit into this team. Postecoglou was asked about him, and he said, "Timo, he's had 2 sessions with us. He hasn't started a game for ages, but I saw today I think he can be really exciting for us once he gets to understand our game and gets up to speed with our training. You could see there were little moments today. He was always a threat, and I think he will enjoy his football here. More importantly today, I had no option to start him. He was a really willing participant in it. He wanted to help. He put his hand up and said, whatever I can do, I'll do, and it's a credit to him." So yeah, 2 points for that. Postecoglou feels that it'll be really exciting for Spurs. Second point, he had no other option but to start him. I can just imagine Brian Hill in the background going, "Senor, senor!" Just like, I exist. I did feel that was a little bit harsh. And he actually came off the bench again. Nice little cameo from Brian Hill. Very tidy with what he did. Used the ball well. But yeah, I did feel a little sorry for him. As soon as he said those words, I was a bit like, Brian exists. And Brian exists. But yeah. On the other flank, Brennan Johnson, it's difficult. It wasn't his greatest performance. He's still in that mindset for me. I don't know whether it's a fear about his hamstring, but sometimes there's occasions when I feel like, go on, run at him, really, because he's got this searing pace. It's ridiculous. And there were times when I saw it just didn't quite go full throttle. And if he had, he would have destroyed. It was Wan-Bissaka who was playing on the wrong side, right back playing on the left. There were so many opportunities where he could have really terrified him and just didn't feel he took it on. Whether that's a confidence thing, maybe as well. But maybe I do think it could be a fear as well of not wanting to pull that hamstring. His fitness is definitely better. He does, like I was saying about Werner not doing that yet with Destiny Udogie, Porro gets a lot of cover from Brennan Johnson. He tracks back a lot. He made 2 tackles and 1 interception. But definitely the attacking output is there for Postecoglou, Chris Davies, Ryan Mason, all to work on with him. He did send in one really nice cross that Werner, it was the one where Werner headed it across goal and Johnny Evans kind of flicked it on just past the post. That was a nice ball. But yeah, for me, with his ability on the ball, there were some really nice touches and moments where I thought he was going to turn his man and didn't quite do it. There's definitely far more to come from him. But like I say, 22-year-old. I feel like some people have just written him off. It's just crazy. It's just what we do, don't we, as fans? We write people off so early. 22 years old, and he's probably knackered as well. He's come back in. He's come into the team after his injury, and there's been no one else really to come in because obviously, Manor Solomon out as well, Perisic out. So he's either left or right, just been constantly playing. And I think for the first few months of his Tottenham career, to have got whatever it is, 2 or 3 assists, to have got a goal, yeah, he needs to score more goals, of course he does. I don't think it's been the worst kind of adaptation period. Already looks very popular within the squad. He looks very happy to be there, and he's got all of the attributes for me. He's got a terrific technique. It's just about decision making. 22-year-olds don't often make the best decision. That's why, because they're young. Think of the daft decisions we made just in life, let alone in the kind of midst of a high-paced football match. He will get so much better. He really will. I'm not concerned about him at all. I just think it's he stepped up to a higher level. He stepped up to a very different club with a different style of football, a manager who wants a lot out of you. And I think Postecoglou is probably the best judge on this. Again, like he did with Werner, Postecoglou said, he's got those words, I'm very excited about him, Brendan Johnson, what he can bring for us. And I've no doubt he'll get it out of him as well. I still wonder whether he might end up playing for the centre at times as well because of his pace. I mean, like I said, that was the thing for me. If Werner fully fit and Johnson going with full confidence, the pace down those flanks would have been incredible. United had a fair bit of pace themselves at the other end of the pitch. And I think that was what kind of created quite an open game in the first half. But yeah, Johnson could have done better. Of course he could. I'm not saying it was a good performance. I thought it was just could have been better performance. But he will get better, and that's the most important thing. A player who did get a lot better for me after the Burnley game was Richarlison. As I said in the previous video, Richarlison had a real off day against Burnley. Wasn't one of his greatest. I know he didn't get too much service, but he just didn't do well with the ball when he had it. I thought yesterday, it was excellent. I thought his link-up play was really good. Really used the ball efficiently. 2 tackles and 1 clearance as well in his defensive work. And of course, got his goal. Lovely. See how cliche, leapt like a salmon. And just kind of guided it into the far corner. It was a beautiful header. 6 goals now in the past 6 Premier League games for him, which is terrific. Since the start of December, no other player has scored more than him in the Premier League. Dominic Solanke has got the same. He also has 6 goals. And if you kind of want to show what an improvement that has been, 6 goals, that's as many as Richarlison scored in the previous 47 appearances combined. It's mad. And actually, Postecoglou, when that ball went in the net, he turned around and he did this real roar and a fist bump at the dugout. And then he did kind of continued and looked up towards the director's box and did similar. And he was asked after the game exactly who that first roar in particular was aimed at. And he said, there's no mysteries, mate. You can ask that question. Yeah, Ryan Mason is in charge of attacking set pieces. He's done an outstanding job all year. Mile Jedinak, as well, is in charge of defensive set pieces, and I thought we were brilliant. We've been really good in that space all year, and it's a credit to both. All the coaches put in a real big shift this week. We knew we were going to have players in there playing their first game for a while or their first time ever, and all of them to a man did an outstanding job to prepare the team. So yeah, nice moment for Ryan Mason there. He's obviously had to take on the Gianni Vio role, a specialist kind of free kick guy, and yeah, that was a nice kind of moment for him. A set-piece routine that he would have put into practice on the training ground, and it came off perfectly. He's right, actually. They have, from set-pieces, Spurs have been pretty good. Pretty good and attacking set pieces are always a threat. And like I say, Maddison's come back as well as another set piece taker too for Mason to work with. So I think the key thing now is that they haven't reached anywhere near the levels that attack can get to. Postecoglou keeps saying that's the area of the most growth that is there to be had, is in the attack. Despite that, do you know what? Spurs have now scored in 33 consecutive league matches. Ridiculous that is. I first saw that stat and I was like, no. But then, they have not come out of a game with a 0 against them in the Premier League, as in their goal tally, since losing 1-0 at March last year. Mad. Absolutely mad. And that actually is the longest scoring run in Spurs league history. They had 32 game streaks in 1949 and 1962, but this has now surpassed that. It includes 12 matches from last season and 21 under Postecoglou this season. Yeah, very cool. Hey, you're always going to get a goal with Tottenham Hotspur, I guess. It's just about not letting them in the other side, I suppose, the other end of the pitch. So, get that attack flowing and flying, and get players like Maddison back. I think he's going to be massive. Get Sonny back as well. He's going to be, of course, he's huge in the team. Even Solomon as another option as well is going to be big. And Werner fully fit. Johnson confident in himself. The competition is going to drive them all on. It's that's the area where I think we'll see the goals hopefully shed out. And, don't take anything away from Richarlison as well. Richarlison's 6 in 6. Sonny said before he went away, Richarlison's got to step up in my absence, and that's him doing that on the big stage at Old Trafford. Who knows what more can come for Richarlison as well. 6 goals in the Premier League already. Actually, it might be more than that. Of course, it was the last 6. It must be more than that. Let me just look, because I don't want to. I feel like is it 8? It is 7. Sorry, 7 goals, 3 assists in 18 Premier League games. It is 8 overall if you count the goal in the Carabao Cup against Fulham. I thought I had 8 in my head from somewhere. So 7 goals in the Premier League. You'd imagine he's going to get up into double figures, and it's him pushing on then as far as he can go and becoming and laying down his marker to be Tottenham's number 9. I know he quite literally is Tottenham's number 9, but doing it in spirit and role as well. Can you in spirit be Tottenham's number 9? Oh, what I'm talking about. My brain's still frozen, I think, from covering the game last night in the chilly Manchester temperatures. So, it's difficult to know what Postecoglou probably would have had more of a sigh of relief about. Whether it's the fact that he finally had a defence to put out there, an actual real defence, like that wasn't 4 fullbacks playing together, people in weird makeshift positions. It actually was, the 4 defenders that were doing very well at the start of the season. So I don't know whether he was more relieved at that or whether he was more relieved about the fact that now Spurs have actually got a bit of a break and he can allow players to kind of come back. He not allow them. He will get them back in his squad and he will have these options. He will be able to rotate as well. Who knows? I mean, even the fact that he's gone from having 0 centre-backs to having 3 centre-backs suddenly, that's just miraculous for Spurs right now. I don't know which one will give him more relief. I mean, Spurs were back. They flew back last night from Old Trafford. They were back in Hotspur Way today doing... I presume they would have stayed the night at Hotspur Way and just got cracking in the morning. Obviously, they can all stay at the lodge. If you're not aware, the lodge is like this very luxurious kind of hotel, essentially, living quarters. I don't know which way you want to look at it. That's there's a little path from the training ground. We haven't actually been shown it yet. I keep asking if I can have a little tour as a member of the media. I still haven't. I've seen it from afar. And the way I walk into the press conference, you walk past the path that kind of leads you towards it. But everyone that's been there has told me it's very, very fancy. It's very nice. So Spurs players were back in today doing training for those who didn't play, recovery work for those who started the game. And obviously, if you're not aware, there's this mini winter break now, which is split across 2 weekends. So half of the Premier League teams played this weekend and the other half will play next weekend. muddied a little bit by FA Cup replays, which mean that some of those teams like Palace, and I've forgotten who the other ones are, but certainly Palace, I remember having a kind of a being annoyed about it. Roy Hodgson is that it's of no help to them whatsoever because they're going to play in the middle of it this week. But for Spurs, 12 days between matches would have been more had the unreal decision been made that they play 2 Friday night FA Cup fixtures in a row. So what are they doing in those 12 days in between? Well, Postecoglou has decided against a warm weather training camp, which was a possibility at one point. I think you've seen some clubs have gone out. Arsenal have gone to Dubai, haven't they? Because we've got that very awkward Mikel Arteta, is it Salt Bay? I don't know how you even pronounce it. Moment with him being fed meat, which was, a strange moment. But, hey, I like a bit of steak as much as the next man. So Postecoglou's decided against that, not the being fed steak by the salt chap, but he's decided against a warm weather training camp and instead will work with them at Hotspur Way. But what he's also decided is they're going to get a bit of time off. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week, they're going to be given time off. So obviously, no doubt they will head off for some warm weather and just recover their bodies. You'd imagine the likes of Werner will continue to kind of really work hard on their fitness. Probably Romero will as well, because obviously Romero, during his injury, I think he popped out to Argentina, so he's kind of had that little bit of time as well already to kind of spend a bit of family time. So maybe he will use this, it could be wrong, but he will maybe use this time to get his fitness levels back up again, perhaps Van de Ven as well. It's just a period where they can kind of get some of their levels back up, whether it is the likes of people that have been injured like Udogie and Skip and obviously Kulusevski. Also gives them a bit of a respite from the training sessions, which they're fun. They always say they're fun and enjoyable, but they are relentless, because if you're not aware of a Postecoglou training session, it's meant to reflect the rhythm and length as well of a Premier League match or a league match. They are tough sessions, always with the ball, and it is meant to kind of mimic a game. So when they play a game, it probably feels like, it's just another day in the office kind of thing. They need these 4 days, especially those centre backs. Like I say, regardless of whether they just use it to heal their aching bodies, because I'd imagine they'll be aching. Van de Ven went down with cramp towards the end of the game. It's a scary moment. He just sat on the turf and put his hand up, and it was all like, no. But thankfully, it was cramp. The moment you see them calling someone over to do that thing where they push down on their leg, we were talking about it in the press box. It's like there were 2 things to it. First off, why is it pretty much 90% of the time an opposition player that comes over and helps them? And secondly, does it actually help? It feels like something you just see on Sunday league pitches. I've got cramp, come on, push down on it. Does that actually really help? I don't know whether medically is that the right way to treat cramp. I don't know. But it's just it always has this very set way about it every time we ever see it happening. Those 2 are going to need a bit of a breather this week in certain respects. I thought they played quite well. I did, both of them. Bearing in mind the timeout, bearing in mind they were lobbed back into the team. Romero especially, Van de Ven obviously has been in training now for, 2 weeks it would have been for this game. I thought Romero took a little bit of time positioning-wise to get into the game, I felt, in the early moments. He stood off Højlund quite a bit for that first goal. He's doing this thing at the moment of really putting his hands behind his back. Porro does it a lot as well. I think they were just so worried about the ball giving away a handball, and obviously Romero has. It was in the North London derby, wasn't it? I think maybe they almost go overboard, thinking too much about getting their hands behind their back rather than actually getting their body into the position to block shots. It was almost like he was daring Højlund to take a shot, and he did, and there was nothing Vicario could have done about it. And then even for the second goal, I felt like Romero charged across a little bit. He didn't need to come out of position quite that far to kind of support Porro. If he'd stayed where he was, it would have probably stopped Højlund from playing the second pass in the 1-2 of Rashford and then Rashford running in. But he still played well for me overall. Those 2 moments, but actually around that, there were just some of those really firm challenges that he does that just stop a opposition kind of attack, brings it to like a juddering halt. And he did a few of those. I thought he was fine. He started to find his rhythm. Van de Ven had 2 weeks of training, but yes, hasn't played a Premier League match since November the 4th. A couple of loose moments in possession, most notably that one I said earlier that Bentancur kind of had to bail him out from. But overall, he's just such a crucial element of the Postecoglou need to defend the balls over the top. He's got this really kind of funny way of running purely because his legs are so long. Almost like kind of insect-like, like kind of grasshopper legs at the front. I'm trying to think that grasshoppers actually have long legs or not. It's going to sound really weird. Spider legs. I'm going to go with spider legs. But they're just so effective. He's so fast. And to be honest, a tough first game back in terms of that, the account and the players like Rashford, Garnacho, Højlund, and then later in the game, Anthony came off on as well. And I think dealing with those kind of that pace, if he can come through that, I would have thought he'd have a lot of confidence in his hamstring again. It's like, okay, I got through that and I didn't tear anything or tweak anything. So against teams that are not going to have that sort of pace, then I should be absolutely fine. Talking of Man U players, and I feel bad about saying this because obviously he was such a brilliant servant for Spurs for so many years. I saw Eriksen was in the team at the start, and when he came off, I was like, oh yeah, he's been playing. Honestly, he just impacted, just so little impact on the game. It was a very kind of odd midfield they went for in the first place, United. Ten Hag went for quite a lightweight midfield in terms of he had Casemiro and McTominay on the bench. They both obviously came on in the second half. But yeah, Eriksen, maybe he was just doing little tidy things that aren't kind of noticeable, but I completely forgot he was playing until he came off, which I guess isn't a good sign. Not that he'll be devastated that I didn't notice he was on the pitch after seeing he was in the lineup. But yeah, back to Van de Ven. He admitted it was tough to be out and to be out that long, even though it was only like 2.5 months. He said, for me, it felt like I was out for 2 years. From my feeling, it was so long. I'm really happy to be back. I felt good. I had a little cramp at the end of the game, but I feel good and I have no problems. It was a tough game. I thought we played quite well with the possession game. We were the better team. We knew that United sometimes keep 4 players forward, so on the counter-attack they can be really dangerous. I think you saw today that sometimes when we lost the ball, they were quite fast on the counter-attack and they created some opportunities. The goal came quite fast, but we came back twice. And you can say a point is fair, but of course you want the 3 points. Sometimes we play with some risk because we always want the 3 points. Even when we're 2-2 or 1-1, we always want to win the game. Even if it's minute 94, it doesn't matter. So, of course, you play with some risk sometimes, but I think we can deal with it. I do think he's so key to that. I really do. Postecoglou was delighted with both the centre-backs. And we had a debut as well for Radu Dragusin later on in the game in the closing minutes. He has been so unfortunate when you look at it. Spurs have been without centre-backs for all this time. They moved quickly to bring in a centre-back. And the day he rocks up, he probably came in and went, oh, Romero Van der Ven back, what? I should have gone to Bayern Munich. But no, honestly, he does seem very happy to be here at Spurs. I think I saw it, he put on Instagram, it was an amazing feeling to make his debut for such a great club. There's this lovely little bit of video content of his brother in a bar, presumably in Romania, I don't know, but just looking on so proud when he came on the pitch. It was a really nice video. And yeah, he didn't really have too much to do. There was one moment, I can't remember if it was for McTominay's chance or another moment when someone got in between Dragusin and Udogie. I think looking back, I felt maybe it was more Udogie's man to track. I can't remember if it was that chance or not. It was definitely one of those late on. But no, he didn't look out of place. He looked kind of very comfortable there. And yeah, we're going to see a lot more of him because he's not going to overplay Van der Ven and Romero at the moment, especially with their recent hamstring issues. And I think this 2 weeks will be, again, very important, other than a little break in the middle, which he will need because he's been playing non-stop for Genoa. But I think he will need these couple of weeks to really bed into the Postecoglou style and what's required of him in this system. But yeah, Postecoglou was mainly ecstatic about having, his two original centre-backs back. And he said, yeah, they were ridiculous, both of them, about their displays. Romero's probably 2 weeks ahead of schedule, but that's the thing about this group. Bentancur's similar. They're putting aside their own personal well-being in many respects to just make themselves available because they want to help this team. They can see we've been going through a tough time for a long time. They both wanted to play, and coming to a difficult place, Man United on transition are still a very, very good football team. The front four there, Fernandes, and the front three are a threat every time. For those two boys to perform like they did after being out for so long is a testament to their character. And on Van der Ven getting cramped towards the end, he said, yeah, it was cramp, and I don't know what that's like. I haven't had cramp for a long, long while. He gave everything, and it's a credit to him. He's worked hard on his rehab, and you never know what the right time is to throw them back in. Until they play, you don't know how they're going to get through. He was feeling really good about things, really confident, and in a tough place against some pretty quick opponents where all of those things are tested. I thought he passed it all with flying colours. So yeah, fantastic. Porro played well. I felt, of course, another assist for him. I think across, I've got a stat, I think I've written it down. 7th assist of the season in the Premier League, and that's the joint most of any defender this season across Europe's top 5 leagues, with Kieran Trippier also having 7 to his name. I thought he maybe could have done better he was unfortunate for both goals. It's difficult. I did feel he could do better, but at the same time, he was unfortunate. The first goal, he was kind of tracking Rashford and then ran into a crowd of Spurs defenders all clumped in the middle. So he kind of then lost him. And obviously wasn't then in position for Højlund running through. But I also felt for the second goal, it's kind of this weird moment where he felt he'd intercepted the ball, but he hadn't. And then, yeah, Rashford goes on and scored. So it's difficult to kind of get too harsh on Porro because he is having a terrific season. And attacking-wise, he, like I say, Skippy got the 3 key passes. Porro had 5, and he's doing that every game. He is the chief creator with Maddison not in the team. So I really don't want to be too down on him. He covered so much ground as well. And he links up those little kind of 1-2s and triangles so well in the middle of the pitch. Whether he's on the flank or whether he's in the middle of the pitch as the kind of inverted fullback. And his defending will continue to improve. It's been so much better this season. It will only continue to get better with Matty Wills working with him. Udogie, the man was ill in the week, and he just put in a powerhouse performance, despite the fact that, like I say, Werner's not fit enough to really support him and help him out too much. He did well. And I just felt the whole team performance was really important in terms of still showing those kind of levels at a place like that, despite all of the adversity that had happened in the week. And Postecoglou said similar. He said, I think this, because this is the thing, isn't it? I've kind of written this down in my notes as well. It's about whatever happens, not being shaken from your belief in the way you're going to play, and that is the Postecoglou way down to a T. And that's why I think he was so happy. He'll always say this: if you play his way and you show no fear, he'll back you to the end of time. And that was what he did. He said, I think this display is important. It does give you growth because there's a hell of a lot of reasons for us not to perform at that level today. If we didn't, it would have been tough. Even for someone like me who tries to push the envelope in everything we do, I would have accepted that. But the fact that the boys put in a performance like that, it does give you growth because you come out of it and you know that we're probably not going to have it as hard as we did today in terms of a build-up to a game, and yet we're still going to perform at those levels. That's true. That is absolutely spot on. Because, yeah, it does give you that kind of mental strength and belief that, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. We've had worse weeks than that. We've had 11 players out going into a game. We've had an illness through the camp, and we've still gone to Old Trafford, a place where Spurs have not won that many games over the years. Yet, we came away really should have won it. With the way they played. And so they're not going to fear anything. Not going to fear any scenario. They're not going to fear conceding an early goal. And they've given themselves that belief through their own work rate. And there's so much more to come, whether it be the weeks ahead, the months ahead, hopefully years ahead under Postecoglou. And also, just in terms of the weeks ahead, I asked him on Friday in the press conference ahead of the game, are they done in the transfer window, or is there potentially more to come? And he said, we'll see. We had some pretty clear objective, which we've ticked off for now. We're still, and I think I said, every window is an opportunity for us to get better. If there's an opportunity for us to get better, we'll take it. But what we were trying to achieve going into it, I'm really pleased we've got 2 players in who I think will play a really important part for us in the second half of the year and beyond. So again, he's pointing towards Werner being a permanent signing as well. Like I said before, Spurs will continue to look for a number 8 if there's a possibility to get one out there. Obviously, that becomes more likely if Højbjerg there's a move for him to go on, and I think that is the crux of it as well. Is there has to be a good offer to come in for Højbjerg. It's not like they're going to lose him for nothing in the summer. Yeah, he'll have a year left at that point, but you can still get a reasonable fee for him. I think just right now, mid-season, it would have to be a good offer, and it's whether some of the clubs that are interested in him are going to pay the sort of money. There's a few clubs in Italy that seem to be looking at him, and the money in Italian football is just not there right now. Seen some of the journalists writing about that, and the fact that they are losing players like Dragishin and Vicario coming out of the league, and they're not going for mountains of money either. Dragishin, what is it, about £25 million in all, plus the add-ons if you take it all into account. And Vicario was only about 12 million, 13 million. It wasn't much at all. And they're kind of bemoaning the fact that they're losing these players for quite cheap prices just purely because Italian clubs can't compete financially right now. So they're going to be able to put in a bid for Højbjerg. And Atletico Madrid, another one that have been linked with him. Again, are they going to be able to put in such a bid? So I do wonder in that respect whether he ends up going. And look, I don't think it'd be the worst thing at all if he sticks around. I think he has made an impact in plenty of games this season. And I think if you're going to have another 6 months with all of the midfield options that are there or will be available to Postecoglou, I think he probably does have enough. But yeah, of course, if the opportunity comes up, they'll go for it. I've seen a link with Kalvin Phillips. For I understand, that's not a move that Spurs are looking to make at this time. Kalvin Phillips is very much a number 6 as well. That's why I don't really understand the links to him. I think he is a base player, so I guess that's going to be an aspect to it. But as in CAA base, he's represented by, I think. But he's a number 6, and they have so many players that can play in the number 6 role. They've got, like I said earlier, Basuma, Bentancur, Skip. Højbjerg can play there as well if he were to stick around. And also, if I'm Kalvin Phillips, why would I want to leave the bench at Man City to be on the bench at Spurs? Because, yeah, he would probably play quite a bit this month, but once Basuma and Sarr come back and the options that Spurs will have, I don't think he would play much. And that's of no benefit to him. Why change that scenario for the similar scenario for City to Spurs when you could go to another team and, I don't know, it could be any team, but he could play regular football week in, week out, especially if he wants to play at the Euros. It would make no sense to go to Spurs. So yeah, from what I understand, I'm speaking to a fair few people within the Spurs. That's not a player they're looking at this moment in time. I do think, and I've said this before, I do think if you're going to see more transfers this window, other than that number 8 role, which also might be someone of this ilk, I wonder whether it's more likely you'll see them going for a young opportunity player, a player who can do a job now or could be for the future, and they maybe loan them back, a bit like an Udogie deal or a Sarr deal. And another player I know they've got an interest in is Jonathan Rowe at Norwich, who has had a cracking season. It's interesting, his career. He came off the bench a couple of years ago. I think it was 13 times in the Premier League for Norwich. But then last season went back to being kind of part of their under-21 setup and didn't really feature too much at all last season. But this season, it's been a real breakthrough season for him in the Championship. He's got 12 goals and 3 assists. He went on a cracking run at the start of the season. I think he scored in 5 games in a row. And he scored in a row. It's a good pun. unintended, of course. And he scored a beautiful goal against Hull on Friday night away. Picked up the ball and just crossed the halfway line. He kind of went in for a tackle, won the ball back, and it just went on this beautiful jinking run down the middle where he kind of started to go off to the right and went off to the left. They just, all these players swarming around him, Hull players, and he just hit this beautiful curling outside of his right foot shot into the bottom corner. Lovely solo individual goal. Solo individual, double repeating myself there. But it was fantastic. And he's, as I always say about Postecoglou attackers, versatile. He can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play as a central attacking midfielder if required. Very talented young player. So Spurs, I understand, are interested in him. They haven't made a move for him at this point. And I should state there are a lot of Premier League clubs looking at him. There's no guarantee he'll leave this window. Certainly David Wagner, the Norwich boss, I saw the other day, had said that he's got no concern about him leaving this window. But I do think it's still in the balance whether he does head off or not. Again, if Spurs were to make a move, maybe that's the kind of one where you say, okay, will you keep him for the rest of the season, continue to develop him, and we'll kind of have him next summer. But it's more that's the type of deal. I wouldn't be stunned if we maybe see one of those at least happen in these remaining weeks. A player kind of set up for maybe more so next season. If they can get him in now, terrific. But I don't think they'd be against getting a young player, Samuel Eiling Jr., obviously another player at Juventus that they like, another versatile winger doing good things in Italy. The Belgian chap that's gone out of my head, Verheeren. Is it Van der Heeren? It's been a long day. It's been a long couple of days. But yeah, just those kind of ilk of player, that's what I mean. Those kind of 18 to 21-year-olds that maybe they can allow to develop a little bit longer at their clubs and then bring them in next season. They start like Udogie and Sarr. And the thing is now, I do feel like Spurs are going to find it easier to bring in players because everyone's looking at the football they're playing. Everyone's looking at Postecoglou and the way that players love playing for him. And they're probably thinking, I'd love to be a part of that. It looks fantastic. Postecoglou's taken not just young players, but he's taken the older players as well and really kind of just getting even more out of them, bringing new kind of levels to their performance. So I can see if I'm a player at another club who's potentially a target for Spurs, I'm thinking, yeah, all right. I mean, Gary Neville said last night, didn't he, that they're the most entertaining side in the league for him, Spurs, above any of the others. And there's quite a few pundits now have started to actually tip them to be top three. I think I saw Neville maybe said he thought they were going to finish above, was it Liverpool and Arsenal? I can't remember now who he said. I just saw it kind of on my way back on the train this morning. But people just want to be a part of Spurs right now. And what a world away that is from last season when we were talking about it just felt like almost like a bad place to be. There were just bad vibes. No one was enjoying themselves. There was so many kind of rushed, messy decisions being made. There wasn't this togetherness that we see now. And like I say, now everyone wants to be a part of it. Just in the last month alone, you look at it and you've had Chris Davies turn down the opportunity to do his first managerial role going to Swansea because he wanted to remain part of Postecoglou's staff because he was so excited about what's happening. Timo Werner, I don't think he probably in his wildest dreams thought, I'll try that Premier League thing again. He just thought, actually, Spurs and Postecoglou, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. Radu Dragusin, turns down the advances of Bayern Munich and far more money from Bayern Munich because he wants to make his way to North London to be a part of the Postecoglou project. And something is definitely taking place at Tottenham Hotspur and people are starting to take notice. That's normally the scary point when kind of people are more aware of what you're doing, but I just don't get the impression Postecoglou cares one bit, and I don't think the players do as well, and that's what he's kind of instilled in them. And that's a bit about it all that's, so exciting. Exciting. I'm going to keep using that. That's going to be my buzzword. If one of Postecoglou's is relentless, mine's exciting. Hey, be excited that I'm able to say it's exciting. You know where we were a year ago. You know it. Actually, it wasn't a year ago. It kind of was. Maybe let's say more 9 months ago. 9 months ago was just horrendous. Hopefully now Spurs are kind of all moving in the right direction, the right momentum, players coming back. It could be a fun old time we have. Postecoglou says they're still in the title race. I see those tweets. Could we? Personally, I don't think so. You never know if they go on a run. I still got this feeling that Man City are going to start getting their act together now. Obviously, they got De Bruyne back and Haaland will be back as well. But I definitely, I'm in on the crowd, and I think Spurs could get top 3. I do feel like that's a realistic possibility, but they've got to keep believing in what they're doing under Postecoglou and hopefully have no more horrendous injury crisis or suspension. That'll be interesting as well to see how suspensions go the second half of the season, how much the discipline is improved. That's going to be a key point. I think the key now is I just don't think people want to miss playing in matches in this team, because quite frankly, with the numbers and the options that are back, you can find yourself out of that team. You don't want to be missing any game time. I said it with Basuma earlier. Basuma gets any more suspensions, misses any matches. There's such strength in that midfield when everyone's there. He might find himself back on the bench like he was in the Conte era. So that's an important thing, I think. That's maybe where the only fear is, the fear of not actually getting to play. Good stuff. Good stuff, and enjoying it at the moment. It's a pleasure to report on them, which is terrific. There's no bad eggs. There's no people behind the scenes causing problems. Everyone's pulling in the same direction. I don't have to write stories about this problem or that problem other than the injuries. But in terms of everything behind the scenes, people just can't speak highly enough of what Postecoglou and his coaches. Honestly, the coaching stuff, I know he's praising them, but everyone behind the scenes is praising what Chris Davies, Ryan Mason, Matt Wells, Mile Jedinak, Rob Birch, goalkeeping coach, what they're all doing right now. Real united front. And obviously you've got the youth teams as well. The under-23s smashing it. They won again. It's that 10 in a row, I think, for them in the league, Premier League 2, which I didn't realise in the new format. If you get in the top kind of bracket of that league, which is the entire combined league this season, you go into like a Champions League style thing next season and play against European teams. I wasn't aware of that until I was watching the under-21s game on Friday night, and the commentator mentioned that, which is very exciting. Again, very exciting. And the under-18s obviously smashing it as well. So Wayne Burnett doing a terrific job with the under-21s, and Stuart Lewis doing a great job with the under-18s as well, and all the coaches that work around them. Jermaine Defoe down there getting great experience, and Bradley Allen in there as well doing terrific stuff. So it just feels weird. What is this witchcraft? Why is everything going right at Spurs? It just feels like there must be something around the corner. But then this season has brought so much kind of tough situations, circumstances. Is that not enough? Is that not enough, I say? So right, I'm going to head off now. Leave you to your evenings and or your days, depending on when you watch this. I will, despite the fact we've got no match, I will try to do a video at the weekend. So maybe we'll do a Q&A. Hopefully there'll be enough kind of developments, little things that happened in the week that we can also talk about that. But yeah, please do get your questions into the comment section below, and I'll try and rattle out a Q&A this weekend. They're always good fun, and especially with things going quite well at the moment. So whatever you want to ask about, really, the first team, the academy, the transfer window, anything really. Any kind of little behind the scenes stuff that I know and can help shed any light on. Could be the loan players, whatever you want to ask about, the tactics, Postecoglou, loads of stuff. And always, as always, if you want to throw in some little kind of questions about other things, I always have fun with them. Movie stuff, TV stuff, whatever. Any fun questions, I'm up for them all. So So time to head off. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye.